Good day, everyone. I hope you all had a super Saturday. My Saturday was pretty good. I worked at the library for the whole time they were open, a little before and a little after. Went with pretty much without a hitch. I think we were a little busier than Thursday, so it was a little harder to keep up with. But by the end of the night, everything was caught up. So something cool happened. We were receiving a few boxes of donations, and I was told to take the books out of the boxes and put them on the carts to be processed and set up. And what did I notice in among the donations but Star Wars from the Adventures of Luke Skywalker, a novel by George Lucas. Copyright 1976. The year's best movie. This is one of the originals. It sold for $1.95. For me, it sold for a quarter. It's going in donations to be sold, and they're running a special on the books that they sell off in the corner of the library. And so I used the sale special. Using that, I bought this for a quarter. It's just pretty awesome. Luke Skywalker was a 20-year-old who lived and worked on his uncle's farm on the remote planet of Tatooine, and he was bored beyond belief. He yearned for adventures out among the stars, adventures that would take him beyond the farthest galaxies to distant and alien worlds. Lots of problems there regarding the use of the term galaxies. But Luke got more than he bargained for when he intercepted a cryptic message from a beautiful princess held captive by a dark and powerful warlord. Luke didn't know who she was, but he knew he had to save her, and soon, because time was running out. Armed only with courage and with the lightsaber, 2 words, that had been his father's, Luke was catapulted into the middle of the most savage space war ever. Not according to other stuff that comes along later. And he was headed straight for a desperate encounter on the enemy battle station known as the Death Star, featuring 16 pages of fabulous full-color photos from the spectacular space fantasy motion picture, the greatest sci-fi movie ever from 20th Century Fox. Pretty nice. Cool. I just realized I'm sitting here and not talking at all. The vlog. Oopsies. Yeah. It's pretty cool stumbling across something like that. To say that I have one of those. It's just really cool. So I put it up here on my shelf. And yeah. A couple days ago, I finally finished reading the Darth Plagueis book. Very interesting story I was curious about, wanted to read. I started reading it back when I had jury duty, so right around the middle of November, before I started working at the library. And I've been reading this book on all my breaks, and really not any other time. So it took me until just a couple days ago, but I finally finished the book. And it's pretty good. It takes place, it tells Darth Plagueis killing his master, becoming the only Sith Lord, taking on all that power, and then after some speculations and other things going down, he decides to pursue an individual as his new apprentice, basically a rich kid from a well-to-do family on Naboo. And everything progressed, and Palpatine became Sith Lord. He was given a Zabrak by its mother to keep safe from the Night Sisters, and of course that Zabrak grew up to be Darth Maul. Palpatine's doing this, and Plagueis has every knowledge about it, because the rule of two, according to this book, Darth Plagueis wants to abolish the rule of two and have him and Palpatine be in control of the whole galaxy. The idea is to make Palpatine become the Supreme Chancellor, and then he's going to appoint Plagueis as his co-counselor, or his co-chancellor, co-Supreme Chancellor. And so things progress. Since it's looking for the longest time that everything's gonna just work out. But then an odd series of events, while they're celebrating Palpatine probably being about to become the Supreme Chancellor, Plagueis gets a little drunk. He gets a little sleepy. He falls asleep, and Palpatine takes advantage of that moment of weakness and takes him out. But you might be surprised to learn that he doesn't take him out until the events of The Phantom Menace, Episode 1, start coming into play. So it was cool to see them put all the pieces together for The Phantom Menace, leading up to what we see in The Phantom Menace, and going into the politics and all the other things surrounding the intro and the opening scenes in Star Wars Episode 1, Phantom Menace. And then they lead us through it kind of from Palpatine's perspective, and even Darth Plagueis' perspective, what's going on. And what basically winds up happening is Darth Plagueis is killed by Palpatine at right around the same time, almost exactly the same time, that Maul kills Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan kills Maul. And turns out that the Anakin thing was just a weird thing, but Palpatine learns about it from something. Yeah, Palpatine learns about it. He tells Plagueis about it. He learns about it from Dooku, who's still a Jedi in this time, and he's thinking about leaving the Order at this time. And so he starts confiding in Palpatine. And so right around the end of the book, we find out that Palpatine needs a new apprentice. Dooku is leaving the Jedi Order and curious about the ways of the Sith, and it's kind of left at that. And so Palpatine is thinking about bringing on Dooku as a placeholder apprentice, someone who can get the Civil War to fall into place the way they want. But ultimately his plan is to bring on Anakin as his apprentice, he hopes. And we see how that plays out in episodes 2 and 3. And what happens after he falls in episodes 4, 5, and 6. But all in all, good stuff. I recommend checking it out if you want to see these nuances and things that tie in. It was a book that was out before Disney or Lucas or whatever announced that the Expanded Universe, most of the titles in the Expanded Universe, would not be canon anymore. They would just be legend status. But I think based on the timetable of its occurrence, it doesn't have to be discounted like the other ones do. Now, if they introduce some concepts like the theory Snoke is Darth Plagueis, that would go against some of the things we see in the movie, in which case they would need to discount that particular book. Pretty interesting. Something else happened today. Today I got home and I was able to plow through most of my shows. I've watched The Flash, Agent Carter, Arrow, Survivor. There was actually 2 episodes of Agent Carter, and Survivor was an hour and a half long. I watched Rebels. I watched, I said Arrow already. I'm watching the Legends of Tomorrow right now. DC's Legends of Tomorrow. Now, Leaving the 100 is the only thing left to watch. I'm not going to watch that tonight. I'm going to do that tomorrow, hopefully, but yeah. So I plowed through a bunch of stuff. But something interesting happened on my break today. Since I didn't have a book to read, I was out in the library looking for the next book to read. I want to read this Force Awakens novel, but my branch doesn't have it, and I wasn't sure of the author to put on hold 2 days ago, and I forgot today to even do it because we were a little busier. So I was out there looking, and I saw a new book that came out since the announcement of the Expanded Universe being mostly legendary and not actually canon anymore. And I saw a book called Lords of the Sith, or the Sith Lords, and it is Palpatine going out on a mission, a rare mission, to take care of things himself, and Vader comes along, and it takes place on a planet called Ryloth, which is one of the homeworlds of the Twi'lek. I always said Twi'lek, but apparently it's Twi'lek according to Star Wars Rebels, because it mentions a resistance fighter fighting against the Empire in the book description by name. And then in this week's episode of Star Wars Rebels, which I watched today, the same day that I read the description of this book, they're supposed to go to Ryloth and help this freedom fighter with the exact same name out with the problem they're having in Star Wars Rebels. So I was like, if they show Palpatine and Vader in this, that would be amazing, and I'd give them props for bringing that book into Star Wars Rebels. Would have been pretty cool. Didn't happen, but I thought that was cool and weird that I read the description of this book and then I watched this episode in the description giving the name of the same guy, the same planet, the same resistance fighters, all that stuff. It's interesting. But that particular guy in this episode of Rebels winds up being the father of Hera, who's the Twi'lek. It's going to be hard to say a Twi'lek instead of Twi'lek. Pilot and basically the captain of the ship makes most of the decisions for the crew that we see in Star Wars Rebels. Alright, I'm rambling on enough. I'm going to go ahead and end this vlog here. It wound up being a little longer than anticipated. Following the Mafia vlog, which was also long, I kind of feel bad about stretching it out. But I wanted to fit all this Star Wars talk in. Tomorrow I'm working, and today was my first Saturday at the location. Tomorrow's my first Sunday there. I have to be there at 12:15, which means I have to go to the earlier service, which means I really need to get to bed so that I can get out for that. So, good night everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow.